Okay, and hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is moving platforms. So we're going to start with the levels project that we finished in project 7. So let's right click on that. Let's hit copy. Let's left click in the open space and hit paste. Once we get that up, let's go ahead and rename this. So we'll call this level 8 platforms. 8 underscore platforms. And let's double click in there and do the same thing. So let's rename the project file, project 8 underscore platforms. We're not calling it moving platforms because remember we need to keep the name of these things kind of short. That looks better. Okay, once it's named properly, let's open it up. Okay, so once inside the project, let's go ahead and start by creating the cube mesh that we're going to need to have our platform to be the physical thing of our platform. So to do that, let's go into content. Let's type in cube mesh. All right. Once we see that, and I'm going to hit the letter P. Not there. Let's hit the letter P here just to get rid of that, and I'm going to grab one of these and I'm going to put it next to the next to this larger object. Now, if we were to push play right now and we were to try to jump on this, we would not be able to jump on this because this is actually higher than our character can jump at the moment. So we're going to create a platform that moves up and down to be able to get us to this platform. And once we're on this platform, we're going to create a secondary platform, which is going to move us from this one to the one on the other side of this stage, on the area. Okay, so to make this a functioning platform, let's go ahead and flatten it out. It needs to be something flat and also large enough for our character to be able to jump on without jumping over. Once that's done, I'm going to move that next to this platform, and the motion that I'm going to create is going to be an up and down motion. And the other reason why we're using a cube mesh is that if I'm standing next to this thing, as this thing goes up, I'm actually able to see the bottom of the platform, the cube mesh. Whereas if we had used like any of the other objects, we would not have been able to, or a single-sided platform, we would not have been able to have seen that. So let's put that there. Once we've got that, the next thing we need to do is click on cinematic. And it's going to ask us one of 3 questions. Do we want it to be an add level sequence, or the add matinee, or the add master sequence? Let's create a add level sequence. From here, it's going to ask us to save this. So we're going to type this in as level sequence. Or I'm going to call this one platform 1. Form 1. And in the contents folder, since it's going to make an object and save it, let's go ahead and create a folder where any of the sequences that we create will actually go. So let's inside content, right click, go to new folder. Once you've created the new folder, let's go ahead and name this sequences. And there it is, or level sequences. All right, so now we have a new folder called level sequences, and that's where our platform 1, I am not doing good with the spelling today. Platform 1 will go. So let's go ahead and hit save. All right. So what that has done, it has created a new window for us, which is a sequencer window. Now, what a sequencer window means is that it's putting things in sequential order. It's putting them in the order that you want them to happen. So what this is going to be is it's going to be an animation, essentially. This platform is going to go up, then the platform is going to go down, and we're going to mark that on a timeline and have the platform continually keep doing that. So when we look at our timeline, we're going to see an area here. This is where we're going to put in our quote-unquote tracks. Underneath that, we have an area that moves us along the timeline. This is called transport control. So we have a play, a rewind, a reverse, a move to previous, move to the last keyframe, and we'll see how this actually works. The next thing is we see the save. We can save the sequence. We can look for certain things in the sequence. We'll get back to a couple of these tools. This is the undo tool for the sequence, so you can use that to undo certain things. This one gives you, if we click in general options, we'll see a couple of options that we need. Now from here, what we want to do is, okay, so let me just name couple more of these things. This is our snap tool. This is going to make sure that all the movements that we generate are going to snap to something that's on the grid. So if you look on the sequence or on the timeline sequence itself, you'll see this series of numbers. This is time progressing from 0 all the way to something. So we want to make sure that snapping is turned on, so then that way as we make our shapes, that actually snaps to the grid. The next thing that we want to do is that this is set up in a series of frames per second. So the numbers that we're actually seeing down here are frames per second. Now in film, 30 frames per second is what's called NTSF, which stands, NTSC, getting my things confused, NTSC, which is a national broadcast standard that basically says that you have to have 30 pictures per second for it to create moving pictures. So this 30 frames per second is exactly that. It creates what's called persistence of motion, which then makes it look like you're moving around. Now for us, what we want to do, since we're going to be using, we want this to be shown in different times, so we actually want this to be in seconds. So now when we look down there, instead of getting a long series of numbers, we actually have 0 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. And this is going to be easier for us to work with because it'll be time references that we're familiar with. All right. So once we've got the cube mesh down there, what we want to do is right click on it and say, we want to right click on the platform, click on right click in this. Oh, and before we start real quick, let me dock this because I hate moving this thing around. If you grab it by the tab and actually drag it into a corner, this is where I prefer it to be. I will actually collapse my content browser. I'll leave it open just enough to see that it's still there. But this allows me to be able to not have to keep moving things around on the screen and work with the area that I'm used to working with. All right, so with the platforms selected, we're going to right click in this area and we're going to go up to Actor to Sequence and Add Shape Cube. That's the shape that we're working with right there. Now, if we do that, what happens is it generates a track for us. Inside that track, we get basic transport controls. So we get location, we get rotation, and scale. Now, in the future, if you want, you can always add a track to this, and maybe it'll be other things that you're changing on the object as it moves along or it does its sequence. But for right now, all we're going to be working with is location. So in location, we get both the X, the Y, and the Z axis. So then that way we know where it is left or right and up and down. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pull this little red tab all the way back to about 30 seconds. And there we go. And this is now going to be the area that we're working in. So this tab right here is going to represent where we are in time, where we are in the animation. Once we push play, this is going to start moving across, and that'll tell us what's going on with the animation, where we are in the animation. The green one is where the animation starts, and the red one is where the animation would end. All right, with that, what we want to do is grab our what I would call the playhead, move that to 0 seconds. So if I come over here, I can actually type in 0 seconds, and that will take me to that place on the timeline. And what I want to do is hit the plus button. I want to hit it on the X, the Y, and the Z. And what that has done is now generated keyframes. What a keyframe is in the days of animation, you would have a key animator, and then you would have the animator that would come in and do all the in-between animation, so the in-between animator. So the key animator would set up what the character was going to do, how far they were going to run, what the major motion was going to be, and instead of tying up the key animators with all the legwork of getting whatever motion, an arm moving up or whatever it was, they would have the junior animators come in, and they would learn from the key animators where to get motions to start. And anyways, so we use this terminology because it started because it is animation, and what we're doing here is considered animation. we are creating the keyframes, and what the computer is going to do is generate all the in-between animations for us. So all we have to do is tell it where we want this to start and where we want this to end. So with the two set exactly where I want this animation to start, I then need to move my playhead to the 5-second mark. I can drag it, or I can again type in 5 seconds or the number 5 and hit enter. And once I'm there, I'm going to move my platform up, and I'm going to record these movements again. Now, I could hit 1, 2, 3 and individually mark them, or if I look at the header for location, there is also a add keyframe indicator here. So if I click there, it will remember where all those points were. Now, once we have these 2 points, this is all we need, because this is the only animation that this platform is going to be doing, that this elevator is going to be doing. It's going to move up, it's going to be there, it's going to move down, it's going to stay there. So what we can do now is we can actually, because what we want to avoid is we want to avoid creating and generating new points, because every time I move this, I can move it up, I can move it down, and I may not be in exactly the same position. I want the elevator to look like it's always doing the same thing, not like it's moving up and this time it was a little bit higher and then it moved down and this time it was a little bit lower. So because these points are exactly where I want them to be in time, all I have to do now is copy and paste them into the new areas. So let me grab this pair first. I'm going to hit Control C. Then I'm going to move over to the 10-second mark, and I'm going to hit I'm going to come back to the platform. I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked in here, and I'm going to hit Control V. And what that's going to do is it's going to make the elevator, it's going to obviously make a copy and paste them and put them at 10 seconds. But what it's going to do in my animation is I'm going to see the elevator go up, and then the elevator is going to sit there for 5 seconds before the elevator comes back down. So to get the moving down motion, I'm going to grab the first set. I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to then move my timeline to 15 seconds in, and clicking on the timeline, I'm going to hit Control V. Whoops. Hit Control C to copy. Come here and hit Control V. There we go. So now we have the elevator down. So the elevator starts low, goes up, stays there for 5 seconds, then comes down. And if we wanted it to stay there for 5 seconds, we would then make a copy of this, hit Control C, move our timeline indicator to 20 seconds, click on the timeline, and then hit Control V. And now we have the elevator going up, the elevator staying for 5 seconds, the elevator going down, and the elevator staying there for 5 seconds. Okay, so that's the first platform. Let's go ahead and let's make our secondary platform. So I'm going to collapse this real quick, and just to make sure that I don't, well, actually I should just be able to right click on this, duplicate. So let's see, edit, duplicate. So then that'll be shape 2. Because it's a new shape, we should be able to pull it out. And let's move it here, and let's move it up. Now this one, because we're trying to time the animations together. So I want this one to go up. I want this platform to stay there while the elevator's up, so my character can move across, get on this platform before it starts to move off, right? So once the platform is in the area that I want, with this one selected, I'm going to again come down to the sequencer panel, right click, actor to sequence, add shape, add the new shape. It's going to again create a new track. So we have the original track with our animation, and now we have a new track that has no animation, that needs the new animation placed in. Now with this, let's go ahead and map out what we want. We want the the platform to move in kind of like an L shape over here, and then I can have the elevator create another L shape and come back, right? So let's make sure that we are at 0 seconds. So I'm going to make sure that I've typed in 0. This is the area where I want that platform to start. I'm going to open up the location panel, or the location information. And again, I'm going to hit the add for everything that is in the location part, location information. So now I'm going to move to the 5-second mark. My platform has now just come up. It is now meeting with the top of this platform. So I want this to wait an additional 5 seconds. So what I could do to wait is I could literally just move to the next 10-second mark, right? So in the 10-second, so this is now given my character enough time to this platform goes up, stays there, this moves over. That has happened from second 5 to second 10. And here is where I actually want to start the animation for the next part. With this there, I actually want to, let's see, I actually want to go ahead and mark that off so then that way there is no animation between these 2 points. So again, I'm going to grab those, hit Control C, come over here to the click somewhere here right on the timeline itself, hit paste. And then it's going to ask us what we want to paste, and I want to paste the location information. So what I should now have is between 0 and 5 seconds, the first platform going up, and these 2 platforms now being in the same time so that my character can walk across to the second platform. Okay, so now that we've got the first 2 positions, let's go ahead and create the L that's going to bring us, or I'm sorry, the movement that's going to be shaped like an L that's going to bring us over to the second platform. Okay, so the first thing, remember, that you want to do is always put in the time indicator where you want what time you want the platform to be there. Then let's select the platform and move it into a location close to where we want it. And there, what we want to do is make sure that we hit the plus button for the add new keyframe for location. Okay, so now we will get the first part of the movement of this. Okay. All right, now that we are here, what we can do is make the second motion for this. So let's scroll over here. So then that way we can make the left part of this. Let's again move over to the time that we want to be at. So let's say 20 seconds. And at 20 seconds, we want to be here. All right, once we're there, we're going to record again that location. And let's scroll into a position that we can then see where we're going to end up. Okay, again, I'm going to move my timeline first, so 25 seconds. And here I'm going to move my platform. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually move the platform further than where I want. I don't want these 2 platforms running into each other. So let's just say that you overshot it a little bit, and we'll go back and correct that. So I am going to record this as the position, but we are going to go back and fix this. So let me record that position, and then I'm going to move another 30 seconds. And here we will end up back where we want it. Now, we could move the platform to here, or we can just copy the first set of coordinates. So I'm going to select them, right click on them, say copy, and then I'm going to move back to where my time indicator is. So I'm going to click on my timeline and hit the right click and paste. And what I want to paste is all the location information. So that will then make sure that my platform ends up in the exact same place that I started. Okay, there we go. All right, now the other thing that we're noticing as we're doing this is that this platform goes up, goes down, and then stays down there for a while. So if we wanted to now, we could actually look at both platforms at the same time and just make sure that we're creating a motion that works well for us and for the characters. Now, right off the bat, the thing that I don't like is the fact that this platform, as soon as we spawn, is going to be moving up. I mean, just as soon as we spawn, it's going to be moving up. So let's grab all of these and let's actually move them 5 seconds. So what that will do is it'll mean that the platform stays there on the ground for 5 seconds. This platform will now go up. And now we have it that this platform is moving off just at the same time. So what we're going to do with all of these is the same thing. We're going to grab them and we're going to move them over 5 seconds. So what that should do then is, whoops, I don't want to do that. Let's undo that. And I want to move this. Okay, so now we have first platform going, waiting 5 seconds, going up. This then waits at least 5 seconds for the character to be there. That then moves us across, over, and back around. Now, if we want this to be in the same animation, if we don't move this all the way to the 30-second mark, the 35-second mark, then what will happen is that animation won't fully play all the way out. So you do want to make sure that this does get to that 35-second. Otherwise, this motion will be left out of the animation. So now that we have it returning to the same place, it should go back in order and start from here. Okay, very good. Now let's go ahead and fix this point right here. If we were just to click on the point, it'll actually get us to where we want to be. And I guess we could have also maybe done that this way. So what we'll do is we'll just move that point over. So let's see what our new graph looks like. So let's be back here. And if it doesn't allow you to do it from here, we can always do this from the XY. So I don't want that moving here. Let's move this one over a little bit. So now it's back to being in line and we don't overshoot the area that we're going for. Okay, so that's how you would repair any of the tracks. You would go select the pieces that you want, and then rewrite the numbers for them, and then that should allow you to move the position of the track. Now, from here, the last thing that we need to do is we need to go into the world outliner, and we need to actually find the animation that we've created so that we can select it. So that's going to be this one called Platforms 1. And the last bit of this is here on the playback. We do want this to automatically start. So then that way when we push play on the game, this automatically starts playing. From there, we do want this to loop. There could be situations where you don't want it to loop, but we do want this to loop indefinitely because we want the character to constantly be able to get back to this point. There may be situations where you don't want it to loop. You just want the character to get to a certain place. Then all of a sudden, like a platform raises, or something moves up. So then that way the character can make the bridge or make the gap over to another area. And in that case, you would only want the animation to play once. We want the play rate to stay consistent, and we can see that there are other options here like random start time. So then that way these platforms might start at a different, or that the animation would start at a random time as opposed to being predictable. Once it gets to the end, it could stop. Obviously, we don't want that with the loop indefinite. So let's take a look at this and see if this is working. So let's push play and spawn out. And let's see if we can get on our platform. And we are on our platform. Our platform is now moving us up. That then allows us to be able to walk over. This platform is now there, and it is now moving. Okay, so now we are on our platform, moving over to the other box that we could not stand on earlier, making another part of the game possibly available that wouldn't have been available had the platform not been moving. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this very much. Next tutorial, we will be talking about menus and getting a start menu and what we would need to do to get the menu, a menu screen going. So have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.